Hi everyone, Katie here. Welcome back to another layout video. Today I've finished all of the layouts for our Alaskan cruise over the summer, and I'm going to go ahead and share them with you now. You may have seen some in process videos, but a lot of them I just kind of did without making a video, so I hope you enjoy. This was our first experience getting on the cruise. I have to be honest, this is not my favorite layout. I thought I was so fancy. I cut up the lanyards they gave us and used them to make a border around the photos, which I still kind of like the idea, but ultimately, I must say, wasn't exactly super happy with how all this turned out. But I did kind of like my die cut here of a cruise ship. I used my Cricut to do that, and I used that as my journaling box. And it was an exciting time. The pictures bring back good memories, so even though it's not my favorite layout, I'm still happy with how it turned out. Now this next one was of our balcony when we first got on the ship and set sail. We enjoyed seeing just the outside of Washington State and getting into Canada. And I used the Heidi Swap Sun Chaser collection to do this, and I thought it was super appropriate. Even though that's super summery, and while this happened in the summer, it's not, stereotypically summery because it's Washington State. And then heading toward Alaska, which we generally obviously think of as cold. I still think it worked out, and I kind of liked the, circularness that happened here. Alright, so this next layout I got a little mixed media in. I was super happy that I used this paper because honestly it's been in my stash for a while and it came from a warehouse box. Sometimes those things sit. But I used some of this texture paste here through a stencil to create some interest over here. Some gold splatter, which is actually just my gold acrylic paint. Watered down, it worked out really well, and I used a brush to kind of fling it. Now here, this page is crepe paper, as are the thickers here, and they're just pictures of some flowers that were in our room. We went on this cruise to celebrate a wedding anniversary, so it was really nice that they gave us some flowers there. Now only the best, of course, all the delicious goodies that we ate. Now we were on a funky kind of cruise and they did not have like super stellar food. I know, that's crazy. But some of it was really good. I enjoyed all these desserts and the cereal crusted French toast. Oh my goodness, I wish I could have that again. But again, I used another old paper. I want to say this is, oh gosh, I can't even remember, but it's an old Maggie Holmes collection. And this one piece had been sitting in my stash forever. So I was super happy to be able to use it up, and I think it worked out really well for what I was going for. Now this is another layout that's like not my fave, but again, it gets the job done. It is using the Paige Evans Splendid collection and using up some of my papers here. Now this page I really like. It is from one of her more recent collections, and I had to use it as just little pieces because mine came as a crumpled mess in the mail. So that was unfortunate, but still able to use it as photo mats and things like that. I also was able to use some of the chipboard and the just little ephemera journaling bits. So I was glad I got to use that, and again, it's my photos and journaling that really matter to me. So even though this is not my favorite layout, it still gets the job done. I still like it. It serves its purpose. Now, I enjoy these a bit more. They are when we're actually getting into Alaska, which was super cool. And it's when I got the Sweet Rush collection. And I really like Vicki Boutin a lot, so I really enjoyed using this. Now, this came out of the project pad, this background paper, and I thought it was super appropriate. This is as we are approaching Juneau. Now, I used a postcard for Juneau because it was a little foggy. There was a thick marine layer, as they say. And we just would never get a nice picture like that. So I was like, I'm just going to buy a few postcards and put those in my albums, as well as a few other pictures. So you can see here, this green paper is actually from Fernwood, and then I've got some Sweet Rush along with washi tape from Color Study. So I really love how Vicki Boutin's collections can really overlap nicely. Alright, this is another Vicki Boutin paper, but a very different kind of layout. This is when we went whale watching in Juneau, which was awesome. I mean, it was great. Again, I used another postcard because I really wanted to experience the moment. I didn't want to view the whole thing through a camera lens. And I know some people that are like really good photographers. That's fantastic, and I think that's great. I was looking through my phone camera. So I wanted to make sure that I got to actually experience this time. I did take one picture, and you can see little fins up there. We actually got to see both humpback whale, well, a humpback whale, which is what this fluke is, and we got to see a whole pod of orcas, and we got pretty close to the orcas, and they were, really putting on a show for us. So that was a more rare sighting, which was a really cool experience and a good way to spend our time in Juneau. And you can see this is Sweet Rush. I used a little bit of Sweet Rush up here, but my own stamp set there and some washi tape from who knows where, just to add a little extra embellishment here. I really liked how this one turned out. This is from Heidi Swap Sun Chaser, which again, I like that I was able to make some not stereotypically summer layouts out of a very summer collection. Now, we went to the Red Dog Saloon, which if you've been to Juneau or know Juneau, it's a pretty famous, at least touristy bar. We stopped in after whale watching and right before we had to get on the boat in order to enjoy a nice Alaskan beverage. So I saved here. This is our little coaster that we got. And I took a picture of the hard seltzer that I got, the Alaskan hard seltzer. It had the Northern Lights on it, and I just thought that was so cool. So we really enjoyed this time, and I really enjoyed creating this layout. Kind of felt like using the wrong collection, which always makes me feel like I'm, cracking a code. Now this one was another interesting layout. So this over here, this paper is from Jen Hadfield's Live and Let Grow. I didn't get much of that collection, but I think what I did get was super useful for this time. This is when we went to the Lawton Glacier, but we rode the White Pass and Yukon route of this railroad from Skagway, and it goes all the way up into Canada, but we got off a little early so that we could go on our hike. I used the map that they gave us here and some of my Fernwood pieces from Vicki Boutin, and I actually inked up my own paper in the background on this right side. I tried to pull in some similar colors that are in the map and in our photos to make just kind of a different color pattern here for my layout. Now, this may be one of my favorites just because I have a bazillion photos, right, on this layout. I have 10 different photos, but I've also written something about each one of them. And it's almost more of a, like, textbook style. These were a bunch of different plants that we saw, flowers, fungus even, and, like, scratches on a tree from a bear. Things that I definitely don't get to see every day. So I wanted to remember them. So I took a picture of each one, and then I printed them out 4 to a page, except for these two. They were 2 to a page. And then I labeled them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then here on my little ledger paper, I wrote out what they were or what I remembered about them. So we had some really awesome guides who were able to, help educate me on that. So I wanted to remember. And it was super cool, and man, Alaska's awfully pretty. This was another page. I was just really happy with how it turned out. Most of this is also from Live and Let Grow. I really only got the paper from this collection, but I think it is fantastic for these outdoorsy layouts. We got to stop by this awesome river that was partially created by the melting of the glacier, and we took just some neat photos with the Alaskan flag there that our guide had brought. So I did some paper ripping here, did some stamped letters, I had the stamp and die set for this, so I cut that out. And it's using, like I said, Live and Let Grow, Fernwood. I think that's also Fernwood too. Alright, now this one I got a little bit messy. Did some mixed media. Now we actually got to go up and see this glacier, so I wanted to do something special for the pictures of the glacier. I gessoed the background and then just got out all the blue things that I had and some gray as well, and the kind of blue grays that I have. Put a lot of Distress Oxide using the packaging technique, and then even did some stenciling and added some glitter. I put all my photos here together. Now I did write directly on my mixed media, which in hindsight I don't think I would do again. Just because it's kind of hard to write over this. It's got a lot of texture to it. But I can still read it and it works out. Alright, now this I tried to make in similar colors, sort of, with the blue accents to the other one, because this is us at the glacier, right? And it was just so awesome to see. It was amazing, the temperature difference. It was just really, really enjoyable. So I used more of the Fernwood pieces, but I also mixed them with Sweet Brush. So, and actually I think this one's even color study. I just, again, love how all these collections are so versatile. And I even pulled in, this is a Simple Stories card. But all the colors, I think, work well together, go well with our photos, and tell my story the way I want it. Alright, so this was after we did our hike. This is more from the Live and Let Grow collection, but mixed in with some Fernwood and a few other just random pieces that I had. This big circle was made just by my hand and a brush pen. I think it turned out pretty well. And then of course I've got a nice scrap behind there. I was definitely enjoying using up some of the things that I had and getting another layout complete. This was after our hike when we were just waiting for the train to come back. The fog had finally cleared, not entirely, but a lot more than it was when we arrived, so we could just see so much more around us, and it was really breathtaking. Alright, so this is a very similar layout, but I had to add the picture. I kind of look like an egghead in that, but that's okay. It's a similar layout, like I said, using the Live and Let Grow collection, along with some of Fernwood and a few other pieces that I had. Not every layout needs to be spectacular in order for it to make the cut. Now this was a double page layout. So page 1, page 2. I was actually using the Vicki Boutin Wildflower and Honey collection, the paper from it. So I found that paper pad at Tuesday morning, which was super exciting, and I thought, oh my goodness, this is another really good outdoorsy collection. So I'm definitely going to pick that up. You can see we had lots of photos here, and I mean, again, Alaska was just absolutely beautiful. I could not pare down my photos. So that means it's a double page layout, and I really like how it turns out. Now again, this one I was not super stoked with how it turned out, but I had a lot of pieces to put on here, and also this was not a great part of the trip. So we went to Glacier Bay, which was supposed to be the highlight, the absolute highlight of our trip. That's why I chose this cruise, all these things. Unfortunately, the captain decided that it was too foggy to continue, so we turned around. We saw no glaciers in Glacier Bay, which was extremely disappointing to say the least. But we did get some information here about Glacier Bay. This was, my best view of Glacier Bay, which it's not much. And then there was another postcard I had already purchased of a nice calving glacier here. I did a little bit of pop of color, but mostly it was about my journaling, and it was about, hey, we were supposed to do this. This was part of our journey. It didn't happen. So it's not a very involved layout, but it tells the story, and that's what's important. Now, after I got over being super upset about Glacier Bay, we did go out and we were able to see a number of animals. So you can see this is titled Animals of Glacier Bay. This is using the Heidi Swap Sun Chaser collection, once again, kind of using the wrong collection, like I said before. This is a wonderful postcard picture that somebody else took of a humpback whale breaching, which was super cool. And actually, we were lucky enough to see a humpback whale breach. It was very far away, so did not get detail, but I got to see it. So I'm trying to, keep that as my positive, even though we didn't get to go see the glaciers in Glacier Bay. We also got to see a bunch of sea otters, and they were adorable, and some of them were pretty close to the boat. So that was fun. This is a really awful picture of them, but I have my memories, and that's what's important, and that is what was the point of this layout here. And you can see I used a few gold thickers. This piece, actually, this blue piece back here, came from Chamel Sparkle City, and I think everything else was Heidi Swap. Now, I've done a layout that's pretty similar to this using Vicki Boutin's Fernwood, but actually this background page is that Wildflower and Honey, and this is my bald eagle picture. Again, this picture is a postcard because I knew I was never going to get a picture that close. But here I even popped up a little circle on foam and put some pop of color on it to make it different from the rest of the page. Because if you look really closely, there are two little golf balls in that tree, and that's a pair of nesting eagles. And actually, through our binoculars, we could even see their nest. So I had never seen a bald eagle like out in the wild before, and I saw so many in Alaska, which was super cool. So I wanted to document that. You can see I use this kind of like starburst pattern page from the Fernwood 6x8 collection. If you've seen my channel before, you've seen me do something similar with the other piece of this paper when I was in the Grand Canyon, but I think it just really draws in your eye to this section, which was the most important part. So I think it works out really well, and I love that I'm using up my Fernwood collection. Now this is a mixture of a few different collections, trying to use up, again, things that I've already used in, again, like using the wrong collection. There's nothing wrong with using things that you have, even if it's not quote-unquote the right, theme or whatever. So this paper here is Jen Hadfield, the yellow paper is Vicki Boutin, the Journey, and these little embellishments are all from the Simple Stories Safe Travels, and then of course different stamps and different scraps to do my borders. It works out. I really like it, and I think the colors go pretty well with my photos. This was when we were in Icy Strait Point. We got to ride the little gondola up to the top, which was really neat. And this was on our Glacier Bay day, so it was, nice to actually go and see something while we were there. Now, this is also from Icy Strait. It is a few just different pictures from our time there. We got to hike around just a little bit at the top of the gondola ride. This is a picture that shows just how big the vegetation is in Alaska. Like, it looks exactly like weeds that I have here in my backyard that are this tall, but they're 2.5 feet tall in Alaska. Like, crazy. Just cool. And that's hard to see here, but we can actually see some sea stars and marine life in what feels so, cold and desolate. So that was super cool. Now, again, I've got that Live and Let Grow collection that has this awesome wood grain, using the last scraps that I have up here to create kind of a shelf for my letters. And these letters are from Pink Fresh Studio, the Happy Blooms collection, I believe. And then these stickers here are actually from a Scrapbook Customs set from the national parks. So using up what I have and getting that documented. Alright, now this is the Vicki Boutin Wildflower and Honey collection here with a little bit of extra. So this kind of shiny paper here is from Bungalow Lane by Paige Evans. And then I'm not really sure where I got the red and white dot paper. but I titled it the Huna Klinget, which I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that, and I do apologize. But those were the native people who lived in Glacier Bay before the glacier, came through, and then were forced to move out to Icy Strait when the glacier started surging forward. And it was really awesome to learn more about their culture and who they are. They put on a little show for us while we were there. And it was just great to actually, learn about that while we were in Alaska, because that was our first experience. Now, this page, I wish that I had a process video on, because I really love how it turned out. I'm using the Obed Marshall Collection Fantastico, this paper back here, but these thickers that are adding so much sparkle and shine are Chamel. They are called Sparkle. And they're phrase thickers here, but I used all of the little accents to really make this page. Now, it's titled Winner Winner. There was a game show on the ship one night called Majority Rule, and my husband and I actually won it, which was exciting and surprising. You can see that my pictures did not print the color correctly. Now, that is because we were on stage to take this picture, and there were all kinds of lights on us, so the picture just didn't take quite properly in terms of color. And when it printed like this, I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to roll with it and make my layout all, pink and purple and very shiny as it looks in this page. So I hope you can tell behind here I've got gold, and that's just my metallic gold ink pad, and I drag it along, which I've done that a number of times, and I really like how it turns out. I also added these little gold bits. They are these nice Pink Fresh Studio little bits that I glue on in here intermittently. I think it really turned out nicely. Now this one I know has a process video. I used my SCT sampler, the first one I've gotten, for October 2022. It had the Vicky Boutin print shop pieces in here. So I used a bunch of these print shop pieces to create this layout. It's pretty simple, doesn't have a whole lot going on. There's a lot of blank space, but it is okay. I really like how it turned out. And if you want to see more about that, check out the process video. Now, this is our time in Victoria. There are a lot of pictures on this, which I know really crowds it. So I didn't do a whole lot of embellishing. This page in the background came from the Jen Hadfield Live and Let Grow collection. And then I just matted my photos, put them together, and wrote a little bit about it. Now, each one of these is a different experience. While they were all in Victoria, Canada, they're all a little bit different. So I didn't want to make a layout for each of them because they were all kind of small events. So I put them together, even though there's not, a whole lot of space on the layout to embellish. I liked how it turned out, and that way you can kind of notice the picture or the print on the back as the embellishment there. This background here, I did take my distress ink and just shoot across the distress oxide. And that made a nice paint stripe for my title to sit on. I also did a nice line of ColourPop to add just a little sparkle, which every layout needs. This is another one I really wish I had a process video for. I like how it turned out. I used my SCT sampler once again. This was a 6x6 page with all these triangles on it from Vicky Boutin's print shop. I cut them out and kind of, put them in this pattern. A few of them are popped up. A few of them have little glitter tracing. And then these are also 3 completely different photos about completely different things. But they were still our time in Alaska, and I wanted them to be documented. So I just have a photo and a little journal about it. Photo, journal, photo, and then a little journal about it. Just to, finish up this layout and all the things that I wanted to say in my Alaska album. Now, this is no longer about Alaska, but on our trip, we ended up having an 8-hour layover in Las Vegas. Now, unfortunately, my husband was not feeling super well, so we did not go crazy in Vegas. We just went to the aquarium, actually, at Mandalay Bay, which was a lot of fun. So I've got my little layout here with some distress ink behind, my stenciling. This is a Sweet Rush stencil using this Vicky Bouton texture paste in a blueberry sour. Then this is a Sweet Rush background page. I've got a few little laser cutouts. Those are actually from the Dollar Tree. Their Crafter Square section has really stepped up lately. I've got this all popped up just so you can see a little bit of our trip to the aquarium. Now there was one really cool part that actually got its own layout. So these two photos are both of the giant Pacific octopus, which, you know, most aquariums, at least most that I've been to, don't necessarily have an octopus, so that was really cool. Just seeing that by itself, and he was really active, and you know, we saw him all spread out, and it was just neat to watch this octopus. And then, so we went around the aquarium and came back, just because, like I said, it was really neat to see. And we saw that the octopus was actually playing with a toy boat. So I just had to take a picture of that and put it together to be documented. So this is using, again, that Heidi Swap Sun Chaser collection. I've got lots of her little tags and tabs and even the stamp set that she made just to create a pretty simple layout, but that's focused very much on the pictures and journaling. All right, now one final layout here. This is a piece of cake. I titled it Only in Vegas. This was while we were in the airport. I found a cake vending machine for Carlos Bakery, and I've never had that before. And also a cake vending machine, like how cool is that? So I definitely had to give it a try and take a picture of it. Now this paper back here, this is from Fantastico. Again, this purple and pink paper is from Chamel Sparkle City. And then I've got a whole bunch of these puffy stickers from Sweet Story by Maggie Holmes. It does not all go together, I know, but it all feels like it's, you know, same vibes for me. So that's why I put it together, and ultimately I'm able to document my photo and my story, and that's what's most important. So thank you so much for joining me for this layout flip through. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you will come back soon. Thanks. Bye.